Pastor humiliated my friend for wanting an abortion, and her parents made her life a living hell. I want to be completely honest. One of the main reasons I'm writing this now is because my parents are very upset with me for disagreeing with what happened at church last week. I, personally, don't think that we should even be going right now since they're letting 70%-ish capacity into the sanctuary on Sunday mornings. And we live in New York, and the congregation is pretty big. And while I don't want to name the church, they can fit over 1,000 outside of the pandemic boundaries. But that's not the main thing I want to make this about. A girl in my youth group recently became pregnant with someone who doesn't go to our church. We've talked casually, but we've never hung out outside of youth, except for group events. But she's one of the few people who I talk to there, and sometimes in our group chat. And my parents don't really allow me to stay home, even when I ask them to on Sunday mornings or some Fridays. But that's not the point either. I just wanted to add that for context. This past Sunday, the pastor told the congregation that someone in the youth had recently become pregnant and needed prayer along with her family. And while he kept it anonymous, some of the people in our youth group still knew who it was. And this is because her parents told someone that she was contemplating abortion to try and get support for talking her out of it. And she told me this when we messaged a few days ago. When I talked to her, I tried my best to encourage her and say that her parents had no business talking to the church and telling them what should have been kept as a private matter. But she said that she's scared that they won't allow her to have it or may treat her differently if she does, and that they also want her to sit with someone to talk, someone who is a leader in the church. She also said that they keep telling her things about how she lives in their house and other stuff like that, and her dad is also a trustee as well. I told one of my friends from school about what happened, and she said that her parents are probably trying to stall her out of the time frame to have an abortion. And I told her that I didn't really know how all of it worked, but that I just wanted to know more, since she felt comfortable enough to open up to me for some reason, but I didn't really know what to say or how to really help. She also said that they're trying to guilt her out of having it too, that being in that environment with word of mouth isn't healthy for her either, and that what her parents are doing is borderline abusive. When I talked to my parents about what happened after church, I told them that I didn't think it was proper for the pastor to do that in front of the congregation. But they told me that that's what happens when people sleep around and do things they shouldn't be doing outside of marriage, just like they taught me about purity when I was younger. But I told them that that should have been kept as a private matter. But they said that when someone sins and doesn't listen to their parents, then the next step is to go to the church, and I don't even know if I can trust them in the future to not do the same to me and my private information, if they support telling others about things that should be private. And when I told them that that is part of the reason why I never tell them anything, they just yelled at me and showed SHT about me not spending enough time with the family and staying locked up in my room. But that's a whole different thing, and not the point of this. I don't know if I can help her, but since she felt comfortable enough to open up to me, I want to be able to be a friend to her at least. And if there's anything else I can do or say from anyone who maybe has gone through something similar, I would appreciate any advice on how to help her in this situation if she happens to reach out to me again. Edit. I do have a car that my parents bought for me, but she does not. She's 16, but I don't think her parents would help her with the process at all by how they're acting. And I don't know if I can legally drive, or if that would hurt my living conditions with my parents, and how they view me or her parents and the potential boyfriend involved. Although if she needed someone, I would consider getting more education and advice on how to do so. Comments from the first post before the update. A long December. I haven't read through all of the comments, so I don't know if you've already been given this advice. But since you guys are in New York, she can get an abortion anytime she wants, even as a minor. Parental consent is not required. Please let her know this information. If you can do it discreetly, i.e., without jeopardizing your own situation with your family, you can offer to drive her to the nearest Planned Parenthood when or if she is ready. She will need an ID, and if she can't provide health insurance, about $500 for the fee. It's that simple. I know because I have been in this situation. For a pill abortion, she will need a couple hours alone in a bathroom while the medication kicks in, and then some menstrual pads for heavy bleeding for a few days. The pill abortion is not particularly painful. It just feels like a heavy period. But this option is only available during the very early stages of the pregnancy. The longer she waits, the more invasive the procedure will have to be. Regardless of what happens, thank you for being a good friend. Responsible Bend 54. You pastor should be in jail. Cobb 33F replied. HIPAA privacy laws only apply to medical providers. If I know my friend has cancer and I tell someone else, that's not illegal. It would be illegal if I were their doctor or nurse though. Pyroclasmic 88. Just listen to her. That's all you can do. This is her decision. Her parents and the pastor are all horrible people who should be ashamed. There is nothing wrong with sex. Absolutely nothing, as long as it's between consenting adults. There is nothing wrong with getting an abortion. It's a medical procedure between a doctor and patient. I left religion when a pastor told me that the reason my ex-boyfriend beat me was because I was sinful. Everything would change when I accepted my role to get married and have kids. The way they think is just disgusting. Update made to the bottom of the first post. The only reason I'm updating is because I received a few DMs asking what became of my friend. I didn't respond immediately because a lot happened, but I wanted to vent about it because it still bothers me today. I'm 19 now, and so is my friend. I offered to drive her to a clinic as a few people suggested in the comments, but she wasn't comfortable going behind their back, so that was pretty much it, and I don't blame her. She's gotten so much SHT from our pastor and her parents, and the boyfriend isn't in the picture. The child was eventually born and later dedicated on a Sunday in our church, and she told me that her parents were the ones who pushed for it. She began working part-time at 17, and her parents punished her for having sex outside of marriage by removing her college savings and not even giving it to her. But another frustrating thing was a post her mom made on Facebook shortly after the pregnancy. In her post, she said it was important to teach responsibility in a world that taught girls to do the opposite. She said that abortion was the easy way out, and that she and her house would serve the Lord. She also said society taught girls that they can dress like SLTS and be absolved from blame when people treat them accordingly, and the whole thing read as damage control and shaming to me. She said she wouldn't allow anyone under her roof to have an abortion, and that's what she did. My friend now works 2 part-time jobs, and I try to help her with small things from time to time, sometimes food or money that her parents won't. My parents disagreed when I told them that they were horrible people for staying in a church that would shame someone like that. But they still attended and said she shouldn't have dated a worldly person, and the whole thing changed my view of them because they tried to use her to teach me what not to do. And we had an argument when I told them I'd rather go to hell to be further away from them. I was cringy and extreme at the time I said it, but I'll never step into a church again. I'm not saying they'll all be bad, but I can't fathom treating one of your own the way they did, and she grew up in that church as a child too. I appreciate all the advice I got at the time, and I hope life gets easier for her, because things are tight from what she tells me, while struggling to move out from her parents. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.